This is my presentation on the North Carolina Privilege Tax by Robin DiBiase. The North Carolina Privilege Tax is a tax on businesses for the right to operate a business in North Carolina. The cost of this tax for most of the businesses was $50, while there were some that had to pay a much higher tax, and that's still due. The tax, it was always due on July 1st of every year, and it was never prorated. So if a business started operating at any other point in the year, they would still have to pay the full amount of the tax. Now, the history of this tax is that it always existed in some form since the 1700s. It was formalized in 1933 Sales and Use Tax Act, and then in 2014, the tax was repealed for municipal businesses, and then in 2024, the tax was fully repealed for almost all businesses. Now, there are still 3 businesses that to this day have to pay the tax, and those businesses are pawnbrokers, loan agencies, and check cashers. And these 3 businesses, they pay $250 instead of the $50. Now, why did some people believe this tax needed to be repealed? Well, one of the reasons was that the tax was antiquated. It was never modernized, unlike other taxes. The best way to explain that is that there was no way to electronically pay it. The only way to pay this tax was through the mail. And while there are many other taxes where nowadays the only way to pay it is electronically, this tax was never modernized in that way. And also, the tax generated very low revenue for the state. It generated less than 1% of the budget. Now, the effects of the repeal, the 2023 repeal, was that it became much easier and less costly for businesses to operate. They did not have to worry about getting this tax paid or about its penalties. Now, a negative to this repeal was that it still took from the revenue that it generated, and so there were some towns that had to either raise taxes or cut some services. A comparison to another state is the Virginia privilege tax, and a comparison is that Virginia does not have a privilege tax. Instead, Virginia has an annual registration fee. This fee amount can be dependent on the finances of the business. Like for corporations, the amount can be $100 to $1,700, and it depends on the shares of the business. And then for all other businesses, it's $20, and it actually has been the same since 1970. They've never raised it above $20. Now, the privilege tax in North Carolina should be fully repealed. It is not consistent policy to make just 3 types of businesses pay this tax. The reason for the prior repeals was to simplify business operations, and keeping this tax for these 3 specific businesses does not keep things simple for the businesses or the state. This tax also does not ensure that these businesses will operate ethically. Auditors and inspectors can keep a business operating ethically by watching them and checking their financials. And in a way, making them pay the tax punishes these legal businesses for operating. And also, just simply, it's unfair to those businesses to make them pay the tax when other businesses don't have to. An alternative to the privilege tax could be that North Carolina can set up a system like Virginia, where it's a registration fee that all businesses pay. It could be a flat rate, or it could be based on the financials of the business. Thank you for listening.